assignment video for computer animation, and in this animation we are going to continue working with sound, and as you can see from the description here that we are looking at, we are going to start lip syncing and actually go back to our character animation that we did in our third assignment. So back in our third assignment we did a simple character animation of pretty much a face, and the face was blinking, the eyes were blinking, and there was some kind of a subject in the foreground, and that subject was kind of making this figure or creature or character rather blink and kind of react to it in some way. So now we're going to add sound and sync these facial expressions to sound and kind of animate the mouth of that character. So first thing we want to do is use the app Voice Record Pro. It's free for your iPad or your phone, and what we are going to do is record our own voices saying something, exclaiming something about the subject. So if, for example, in my animation, my character was exclaiming about a cheeseburger, and I'll click over to that really quick so we can see what that is. So he would be saying or something along those lines about this cheeseburger, and that's what we will get to show you in this demo video. In order to actually set up Voice Record Pro on your iPad or your phone, make sure that you read through the instructions that are down below in the bottom section here, and use those to get started. So what I'm going to jump into is the animation part. So if you haven't recorded your voice yet, go ahead and do that and then come back to watching this video. So like I said, we are going to start off in this animation by actually taking the mouth of your character, which should right now probably be, it should be on its own layer, and it should be a graphic. And what we want to do is change that to a movie clip. So now we're going to take this movie clip of this mouth, and we're going to double click on it to go inside it. And we're going to add a new layer to this mouth, and this we are going to add as sound. Remember, any layer that has any sound has to have its own layer. And I know already that this is my sound file. I've imported it. I'll show you again. We want to go to File and Import to Library, and then from there you will go to Student, and you will find Student and then the Downloads folder, and then press Import to Library, and that will bring up the sound in your library. And if your library is not visible for some reason, then you'll want to find it by going to Window and then find Library in your Windows list. So I'm going to take this sound and just click and drag it right to kind of my stage area. What you'll notice is obviously there aren't enough frames here for me to really see that sound, see that it went in, but there's all the frames that are there. So I'm going to go out to maybe like about as far as frames I can see, and press F5 so I can reveal this space. So not keyframes, but this is just an F5 to create a blank frame. And what we're going to do also is add the same number of frames for our mouth so that the mouth will stay there. The other thing we want to change, because we're going to be syncing to our audio, is we want to actually change our sound. If I could bring that up again. If we click on kind of our sound bar here, we want to change this sync, where it says sync right here. If it says event, start, stop, we want it to be on stream. And what that will allow us to do is it will allow us to stream or to scrub back and forth over a sound and hear it in real time, which is really helpful as far as getting our mouth shapes to line up right. Okay, so what we want to do next is I want to actually show you another step to editing sound. And so what we're going to do is double click on this sound wave and go into edit again. Something that we can do, I know that there's a slight sound early on in this animation that I actually want to clip out. And something that we did not talk about in the last animation is how to actually edit or clip the beginning time and ending time of your animation. So if I take this middle bar right here, and again I always like to have this in frames mode, which is this last button here, that will create frames mode, and so it will show me along here frames that I'm seeing here. If you're in this mode, it's going to tell you time, which is a little different for each animation, as some have different frames per second. But aside from that, so I want this animation sound to actually start after this little blip right here. And so I'm pulling that middle bar right there, and so you can see the animation sound will start there. I'm going to scroll down, and you could almost do the same thing from the end of your sound. So right now, and actually you can see my sound actually goes to 90 frames, but I didn't include enough space here to actually see all that. Or did I? Oh, it looks like, yeah, my sound might go on a little bit longer. Okay, so if I want to clip that ending, I can take this same middle bar here and clip the sound down. And now you can see that the sound clip got shorter. Okay, so what now I want to do is match up with my mouth shapes. So I'm going to click back over to eBackpack, and I'm going to take a look at these mouth shapes. So my figure is saying which is this M sound, and actually the face that he currently has. And then he's going to say ooh wee. So he's going to use an O face and then an E face after that. So going back to my animation, I want to create a couple new keyframes. So I'm going to create a new keyframe here. Okay, so this is still the so he's going to keep that face there, and then on this keyframe, I'm going to delete this mouth, and I'm going to draw back in a new one, and I'm going to just use black. I'm actually just going to use my brush, I think, as it is, and click once. And now I have that. I'm going to reference back, and so I want that little kind of line underneath the O for the chin. I might just make this mouth just slightly bigger by just clicking a couple more times to make it a little bigger. And then, like I said, I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller and kind of add that line that is too thick of a brush. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And there we go. So that is kind of the... Okay, so then I'll add another keyframe here. You can see he goes E. And so with that sound, we want kind of an open mouth showing the teeth and a little bit of the tongue to make that E sound. So again, we're going to delete this mouth on this keyframe, and we're going to draw a new one. So I'm going to bring my brush back up here, and then I'm going to draw in kind of this wide open mouth. And we can always zoom in, and I'm going to add kind of the teeth line to the top and the teeth line at the bottom, and then add kind of the tongue in there. I can take my paint bucket and fill that in. I'm going to choose a red color, and I'm going to fill in that tongue. And then lastly, I need to fill in the teeth also. Nice pearly whites in here. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So if I were to play this in preview, so you can see I probably want him to go back to that first face after he says we. Okay, so right here I'll put another keyframe. I'll delete, or I could just go back to this first one. I can right click, copy frames, go back to the first one, and paste frames. And so now that will close his mouth. Okay, something else you probably noticed that I did was I went ahead and also edited. So there's a sniff that I added at the beginning too. So I actually edited that first part of the animation to actually make the nose into a movie clip as well. So that's something that I want you to think about going ahead with our animations is what other things could you come back into now that you know a little bit more about Flash. What other things could you add to this animation to kind of take it up a notch? So like I said, I had the sniffling sound, so I went in and I took my nose, actually converted it into a movie clip, and inside this nose I actually synced up with the sound. I looked back at my sound and saw where I needed to make the nose kind of sniffle creep up. So I knew that it was around 15 and 20 frames. So if I go back out to my mouth layer and I check this sound, you can see that sound happens around 15 and 20 frames. So I knew that's where I needed to make that nose sniffle. I think if I was to do anything else, this animation, I think I would add maybe some steam kind of lines rising off the cheeseburger, and that would really kind of make the animation, really come through as a pretty finished, complete animation. So, other things you can do is you can kind of tweak features, now that you know a little bit more about, the tools of Flash, you can go in and we could, edit, ear shapes, we can make, color outlines on different features and things like that. So, again, add some sound, have some fun, and really kind of try to jazz up these character animations.